detective. Thrill me.
Thanks for joining us again for our Halloween episode. I believe this is our 4th Halloween episode.
Yeah,
Been going for 4 years. Nobody's checking up on these things, are they? They are not checking to see...
Statistics.
They're not going, Jesus, why are these guys still on? Let's just get rid of this.
Someone will have to be listening for that to happen.
Yeah, no, Maddie, tonight we are covering the 2018... I don't know if you call it a remake, a sequel, a reboot.
A requel of it.
A requel. Halloween. But before we get to that, just a quick whip round. What have people been watching? Anyone got anything decent?
Daredevil season 3.
How was that?
What am I, 3 or 4 episodes in?
I believe they've done another hallway fight.
I haven't seen
Of
that
some
one yet,
kind.
maybe. There's some cool stuff in it. The initial part, it's a bit of a slog to where they get back into where he's doing his thing again, because he took some injuries, obviously, at the end of the last one. Not sure how you get out of a collapsing skyscraper and just, go into a bed for a couple of days and you're back on your feet.
Shake it off. Bronson
They
style.
haven't really explained that away, but...
You just brush off your mustache and keep on going.
but it's got the right vibe again. Like Daredevil's probably my favourite out of those. Either that or Jessica Jones out of the Marvel TV things on Netflix. And Charlie Cox is really good. I like the dude. Not your son, obviously, but he's a good kid too.
Told him I wanted to nickname him Daredevil and he told me to jam it.
Really?
He doesn't
I
like
thought
it.
he'd be all about that.
Yeah.
I think he's the best lead out of all of them. I think I would prefer him to Kristen Ritter. I like him. Some of the other players in it aren't as strong, but the overall feel for that one, it just seems to fit the world the best.
Yeah.
His character, and they've obviously got Kingpin back again, who was very strong in season 2, obviously, and he's just got so much screen presence. He just has like a real just latent evil in him, and he just seems real powerful. So he's one of the stronger villains in any of those series as well. So it's going pretty good. Other than that, I didn't watch a great deal because the NBA is back.
Yeah.
So it's been taking up a lot of my time. But I did watch Upgrade that Maddie mentioned in the last episode. Really liked it. It's a little bit of a similar take to like an Ex Machina sort of thing, but just not done quite as well. But it's very brutal. Definitely worth a look on the action front. And I rewatched the Batman Nolan trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
Just listened to a couple of podcasts about them on, I think it was Now Playing. And
How was it on rewatch?
yeah, I really like Batman Begins.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's like the darks, like the redheaded stepchild of the group, but I actually really like
I
Batman
disagree.
Begins.
I actually think Batman Begins is the best one of the lot.
I still prefer number 2, but it's a lot closer than people think, I think, because like the third one is a far...
It's a lower tier. It's still good, but it's a bit lower.
If The Dark Knight is a 9, I think like Batman Begins is maybe an 8, 8.5.
Yeah, surely.
So yeah,
I really enjoyed Batman.
It's worth doing the
Begins.
rewatching. And like it's a fair bit of film to take in. Like they're pretty long movies as it is, but they've all still got a lot of value, and yeah, they're really enjoyable to watch. So I did that, and then the only other thing is been taking up my time is Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption.
Well, we've all got that.
Yes. It's
It's
spectacular.
fantastic.
Everything we
It
hope
is
for.
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
Thank you, Rockstar.
We might have to shut up shop for a month.
Yeah, it is.
Good luck, mate.
I mean, there's a lot of hours.
for anything.
There's a lot of hours to put into it. You know.
Yeah, I'm severely sleep deprived
But
over
it's
the
great.
last 5 days. Put it
It
that
is
way.
fantastic.
That's it
Jared?
for me. That.
Anything else?
Yeah, I barely watched anything. Either a lot of travelling and whatnot. So I started Making a Murderer season 2. It's still interesting enough, and they're still going about poking holes in the story. He's got this new attorney who might be the most interesting because she's got like 17 people exonerated over her journey. Basically she said she worked with one serial killer at the beginning and had to hold in information about killings that he'd done because he was trying to bargain for a sentence. And he didn't get it, so she had all this information and essentially had to wait for the day that he died to say, these are the other ones that he did. So she said, after that point, I didn't want to represent guilty people. So
I don't know how you sleep at night as a person doing that sort of stuff. I get that it's your job, but how do you carry that?
Well, that's the thing. She basically said, if he is guilty, if Stephen Avery is guilty and has hired me, he is a stupid man because I'll find out he's guilty, basically. Which I thought was really interesting. But the problem with the whole series for now is it still doesn't have any representation of the other side of things. It opens up with this really interesting montage of all the criticisms of the first season and some of the evidence they left out and whatnot. But then they make great pains at the end of each episode to show all the people that are not involved, and it's all of the other side, basically. All the policemen, the Horbeck family, all these people that just aren't in it. So this series almost feels like a cheerleading for Avery. And I just can't get down with that because I'm still not certain that he's not...
Nah.
You know, so it's hard to cop. It's still an interesting enough show, but it's very different to the first season in that regard. The first season had a story that had played out over many, many years, and this one, they're just trying to
tidy up a little bit of loose ends.
Yeah, they're just trying to add to it, and I'm not sure.
That was always my concern.
The other thing that I watched was, as did you, Adam, Summer of '84.
Yes.
Roadkill Superstars' next movie after Turbo Kid.
Yeah.
So it was always going to be hard to live up because Turbo Kid is one of my absolute favourites from the last few years. Didn't quite hit those heights, but it was enjoyable enough. It had some problems. Some of the characterisation wasn't all that strong, but it brought some really interesting stuff into as you said, we've got this whole kind of coming of age thing mixed in with this kind of Rear Window vibe.
Yeah.
And they did some things that really, really hit home for me. I really liked a lot of it. A couple of things that the kids were doing, like organising these massive games of what they were calling Manhunt, which we used to call Spotlight.
Yeah.
And I was just watching that going, yeah, that's how we grew up, had that whole street in this game of Spotlight. You got 2 minutes, off you go. That was just, I was watching that going, oh man, that is spot on. That's
nostalgia.
exactly,
I think the coming of age elements were pretty well handled. I thought the serial killer next door type of thing was also pretty well handled. The problem for me was that there were key relationships that kind of went nowhere. There were things, cool, interesting ideas about the shitty stuff going on in suburbia that you don't know about that didn't really get played out.
Yeah.
They just sort of came and went.
I thought that was an interesting vibe. For me, I disagree about the coming of age stuff. There was some of it that was really good, but I look at something like Stand By Me that had a couple of characters in similar situations. And it's just, you look at that and then you look at this one and you say they missed all of that sort of stuff with some of the characters in this movie. It was just all surface level stuff. And that was probably what held it back. But overall, I finished it up and thought, yeah, I definitely...
I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed it a lot.
They had the same people do the score.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because the score is constant. It almost doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But it's not really, intrusive. Yeah. You don't sit there going, fuck, I wish this had stopped. You kind of...
Is it still that 86?
Yeah, it's classic John Carpenter
vibe.
Type of vibe.
I'd have to probably go back and listen to it separate from the movie because I really like the Turbo Kid one as well, but it's the same sort of stuff as that. Again, it's just like that, how it was sort of all the way through almost, but parts where it was just drop down a bit and then it would go pulsing
comes up again. Yeah.
I got a couple of really big laughs too. None bigger than they're on the walkie-talkies and one of the kids goes, shh, something's going down, something big's going down. And the response is, who's going down on who? Of course, lowbrow here, man, grabbed me.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I agree. There was some stuff that wasn't there, but I think overall, it did a pretty good job of putting them together. But the ending was what I liked the most.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
I was a big fan of the ending. Yeah.
A lot of people probably wouldn't have liked it because there was no actual.
Don't give it away. We're not spoiling.
Yeah,
but it was definitely something different.
Yeah.
And to me, that was one of the key bits that I really enjoyed out of it.
Yeah, same.
Anything else, mate?
No, that was it for me.
All right, I didn't watch much else either. I put my little nephew, 13-year-old nephew, through Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loved it. I loved it too. I reckon it's bloody good.
It is. I was a big fan.
And the sequel, I actually look forward to the sequel. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yep.
And the only other thing I watched the first episode of The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix.
I nearly gave it a look the other day.
Yeah, look, it was okay. It didn't really grip. It didn't really grip.
Like
well, no, it didn't grip me immediately.
Looked like you just smelled a fart, mate.
No, it didn't grab me straight away.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a slow burn, and it kind of ended on a cool note. But I was kind of like, everyone was saying this was really, really good, and I was kind of thinking,
do you think it's got build up in it?
I think it's look, I will give it a few more episodes because it's 10 episodes, and I like Mike Flanagan. Who's done it?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's just that early build piece. You're getting that first episode where you're getting a few characters out of the way, and you're getting an understanding of everything. Then we'll get into it. And it's jumping back between time periods too,
Yeah.
which can be difficult
Yes.
at times. So, but look, it was okay, and I'll give it a couple more episodes to see where it goes. But that was it.
Interestingly, no one's given Black Lightning another look yet. The new season. I don't think I can get myself to do it.
Mate, I had fatigue. I was all over all those superhero shows. I haven't watched Arrow, Flash, or Supergirl for a season.
I just scrolled over Black Lightning. I'm like, should I do it? And then I just went, nah.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to go real well this season.
it took a turn.
For the worst, I believe.
Yeah, I just never got on board with it. Didn't drag me back in, that's for sure.
All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer to 2018's Halloween.
They're all spooky.
Michael Myers spent the last 40 years in captivity.
I have prayed that he would escape so I can kill him. He's waited for this night. He's here. He's waited for me. Michael!
Rated R.
Halloween from 2018, directed by David Gordon Green, who directed Your Highness.
Wow. That's an interesting change.
Yes. Produced by Malik Akkad, who is the son of Mustafa Akkad and produced a lot of the recent Halloween films. Bill Block and Jason Blum, who we know from Split, Get Out and Happy Death Day. Written by David Gordon Green, Kenny Powers, Danny McBride.
It was funny seeing his name in the credits.
And Jeff Fradley, and it's based on characters created by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. It stars Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, Judy Greer as Karen Strode, Andy Matasak, I don't know if I'm saying that right,
Matashak.
Yeah.
as Allison, and Will Patton as Hawkins. The budget's $10 million. That's what I've read everywhere, $10 million.
That's pretty good.
And currently it has made $120 million worldwide.
And climbing.
Yes. And it was released to coincide with the 40th anniversary of the original, which was released on the same day, I think, on the 19th. All right. Gibbo.
Okay, well, I'm really fresh off it. I watched it literally before I drove over here, so didn't get a chance to make a great deal of notes, but as the non-horror person, I probably carried less baggage into this and just sort of got to watch it. Like, I've seen the original, obviously, but just watching it without having seen most of the sequels, I kind of just went as if this was just a direct one. I probably don't have a lot to take into it with the other shit, so that's probably for the best, I would think.
I would suggest.
I liked a lot of the tone and the feel of the movie. I think they really did a good job of matching some of the stuff that worked in the original. Did have some issues with some of the narrative things. Jared sort of mentioned to me before I went in, he said there's one glaring thing, and I'll be interested to see if we had the same issue. But other than that, like, I really enjoyed it, and like I said, horror's not really my thing. I don't really have a link to this one like you guys probably do with the nostalgia side of things, but I'll probably give it a 3.5. Some of the issues I had really hurt it, I think, but on the whole, I think it was pretty strong.
Solid. Jared?
Yeah, so I can't really disagree with any of that, really. Like, I was very happy with the tone and the style and how they tried to imitate parts of the original but then take it in their own direction. I thought that was really cool. As of walking out of the cinema, my thought was it's the best of the sequels. Pretty happy to stick with that. I think you can definitely see the whole Me Too element that everyone's talking about very clearly, which is kind of cool to have that sort of subtext in the movie, and you see the way that the characters act and some of the variations on the classic kind of stereotypes of gender and stuff that we see in there.
Yeah.
Really interesting to see that in a movie of this nature. I thought Michael was excellent, and I think the nostalgia definitely played a part, and in the wash-up I might come down a little bit, but I went with a 4. And I sat there in the theatre just really buzzing for the first time in a while. Like, just absolutely buzzing for a lot of the movie, basically. So really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I totally agree. For me, it does a fantastic job of connecting itself to the original. It is by far the best of the sequels. Yeah. By far.
I don't think it's close either.
The next best is probably H2O. And that's not on par.
H2O or
Halloween 4 or one of those. But neither of them would be on par with this. This is really, really well done, barring one major mistake.
Ooh,
To
We won't
let-
get into it
Got a
yet.
Mexican standoff on mistakes. See if we're all on the same page.
And to let everyone know, we will be spoiling this, so
Big time.
you have to understand that.
Yeah.
We will go ahead and talk in depth about the things that happen in the film. So if you haven't seen the movie, you may as well stop right now.
Yeah, we don't tackle many current movies or
No.
good movies, and this one's both, so don't ruin it for yourself.
I mean, look, we spoiled Death Wish 3 for all the people out there. But I think that barring that major problem, they're very reverent to the original. They actually give a shit. They actually give a shit.
Yeah.
And when he gets to the finale, that to me was the pinnacle of it. I think the finale was fantastic. It was exactly what we wanted, and the way it ended was I was kind of like, fuck, I didn't quite expect it, and I thought it was brilliant. Like, some of it was brilliant. Overall, I gave it 3.5 just because that one problem is a big problem for me. Like, it was just a big problem.
I thought you said you were going to be way above my score.
No.
Oh, okay. Good on. See, I'm right. I thought I was going to be way.
I was
you guys would be
teetering
way above me. On
I was
this one, eh?
teetering with Jared on 4.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was really, really close to saying it was a 4, but just because I keep coming back to that particular bit and just going, what the fuck is going on?
Okay.
Well, let's get into it. Okay, so it's definitely spoilers from here on out, guys.
Definitely, yeah. Spoilers from here on out. I'm going to break it down. Like, my likes and dislikes are going to be like, the big ticket stuff, then down into the weeds. It's really well directed. Really well directed, especially coming from a bloke who made Your Highness.
He has made other stuff, so I couldn't.
Didn't you like
know.
the Minotaur penis necklace? Didn't enjoy that?
But he really captures the tone, but yet he does give it a shake up.
Yeah.
That sequence where Michael is stalking for the first time is bang on the original.
Some of the static camera
Spot
shots in
on.
that are so clever. Like
Yeah.
how they capture different bits of where he's moving. Like the shape thing really comes into it. They really do a good job with that in this movie.
Yeah, well, you got that part, which to me was one of the highlights. It's taking some of the elements of that original tracking shot. It reminded me more of part 2, where it's almost kind of over his shoulder in parts. It was fucking phenomenal when he's walking around and then you see him out the front of the house and it changes to him and you see the reflection in the window.
Yeah.
Then it goes straight onto the woman, still in the same shot.
then you can see
his head bobbing
yeah.
up down the side of the thing, and then he just pops up in the back and he's fucking... She's done.
Yeah.
And the whole time the score's kind of pulsing in and out and things like that. That was just awesome. It was the best directed stuff since the original.
Yeah,
Yeah,
easily.
I just didn't see it. I just didn't see that from the bloke that made Your Highness, to be honest.
No, he's definitely taking a
fucking
step in the
nailed
right
it.
direction.
And Kenny Powers.
And Kenny
Yeah, no,
fucking
a lot of
Powers.
it was really creative.
No,
Like,
but
that's
that-
technically really strong.
It says to me that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride and the other fella who wrote it, Jeff Friedley, they actually gave a shit.
Yeah.
They actually sat down and they looked at it and they really thought about connecting them up, and I think they did a fantastic job.
But they clearly gave a shit about the sequels too.
Yeah.
But
Because there was little bits and pieces
There
in
was
there
little
that
bits
sort
and
of
pieces
popped up.
from the sequels.
If you know your sequels,
But-
you saw
Yeah, so
it.
that's the bits I probably missed. But
they made that decision to just wipe the rest of it clean. It's not saying that they don't enjoy some of it themselves or whatever, and they didn't nod to some of it. They did, but they just said, for us, our story works better if everything else is forgotten.
But it was a masterstroke, because the fact of the matter is, there is no way to connect to any of what... Like, this was the best way to do it, is to clean house and come back to what was best about Michael Myers, which was the first one.
yeah.
Because my wife was sort of saying, look, it was no different to any other Halloween movie. And I was like, but you don't
was.
understand.
A lot.
You don't understand, too, that forget about all these other ones.
It was a lot different to them.
It would have been awesome to have a showing of the original, then go straight into the new one.
Yeah.
And you would have got your understanding, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
This is exactly where we're at. Forget
believe
about these
they're,
other turds. We're done.
I believe one of the big reasons they did it too was to get rid of the family connection.
Yeah.
That Michael and Laurie were brother and sister. They basically just
That
said,
confused me a bit.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't understand.
And,
how it
and the
worked.
way they did that is they did that so easy with just a little walk and talk.
yeah. They
just cut it
basically
out.
in an interview, and shout out to a podcast if you haven't listened to it. The Ringer did one called Halloween Unmasked, which was excellent. It was like 8 episodes of real deep dive into the Halloween series. On there, McBride and Gordon Green talked about how one of the major reasons was that family connection, and how they thought that kind of dulled the whole boogeyman thing a little bit, because it kind of it gave him that focus on her, whereas in the original we didn't really know why he just got caught up doing that. So it made it scarier, and they kind of said if you're in her vicinity you might be in trouble, but everyone else is kind of just like, meh, you know?
Yeah.
It's
up to
okay.
her, don't worry.
But because in this one he got back to that kind of indiscriminate, just you're here and so am I, you're stuffed basically.
Yeah.
It was a bit scarier.
I thought the cast was excellent.
Yeah.
I think they actually hit that nail on the head with the Strode family. Jamie Lee Curtis was excellent. Like, really, really good. I loved all that stuff about her being... That sort of subtext about she'd been traumatised by this maniac, and now she was a fucking maniac.
Yeah, she's like a
basically,
agoraphobic.
she had become just, a gun-toting...
It's a lot of the Linda Hamilton from Teachers.
Yeah, had a bit of that vibe. I actually thought Judy Greer was really good, and she got a couple of really good pieces right at the end.
Finally, they put her in a semi-serious role and didn't have to have her in some scene fucking
Acting like
playing
a tool, and it's always nice to see Will Patton.
Yeah, I
always like to see Will Patton.
He was really good.
He's always good.
What? So hang on, was he actually the guy in the original too? Was he actually?
No, because that was their connection.
Okay.
He was the guy who stopped Loomis from killing him.
Right. No, I just because when I was saying that, like, I wonder if they actually got him back, because it seemed like a weird role for him to have had that at that point.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. That was just kind of.
I didn't remember him being in the original. I thought maybe I missed something.
He reminded me of Sheriff Meeker out of Part 4.
Yeah,
and I thought that would have been cool to actually have that kind of as a throwback or something like that. But he was really good, and I just think that they pretty much got the casting right across the board.
I was a bit iffy on the dad.
He had a couple of little moments where I was like...
Was he the guy from It as well? Or was I mixing them up?
I didn't
I
recognise.
just got the
think
vibe
so.
of Beverly's dad from It.
Different.
I don't think so.
Don't think so.
I really
had a
liked
couple of funny parts.
the intro bit with the two journalists when they go to the mental hospital at the start, with all the other inmates sort of starting to, like, something was like that gave it more of a supernatural sort of thing. And when he's saying like you've got a connection to the mask and that sort of stuff,
and he starts going
he's
like
clenching
that.
up because he knows something's happening. But just the way, like, that whole scene was really like the score.
Yeah, it was kind of unsettling. The dogs barking and those guys are going.
Yeah, it just puts you on edge straight away, and then you don't get a resolution to any of it.
I don't know about the representation of mental health.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit off,
but
it
as
worked.
a scene, it was quite creepy.
It was perfect to set the scene for how it's supposed to go, for sure.
Yeah, like the whole representation of mental health was shocking. We basically changed to a bloody law.
Butterflies down Route 202. I was like, oh, really? And I find it hard to believe that these other guys, which by the sound of things they're just a little bit simple. Why are they in the same hospital as this guy that's a psychopathic maniac?
I also like how he's in a square, and then they're like, don't step into the square, and then I thought to myself, who's getting him in and out of the square then?
Who's leading him to the square?
Yeah.
But he's a big boy too.
Like the patchwork of the red and white squares.
It's kind of cool.
That has an effect on your eyes, how you see that sort of thing and stuff. It was really well
It
set
didn't
up.
work from a legitimate mental health perspective, but it worked from a trying to unsettle you.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Michael still wouldn't talk, even though they were, but he was clearly pissed off. Like you could see.
He was reacting for sure. I think it's got a little bit of the Jaws thing where they never show you what he looks like.
Yeah.
Everything's just
kept
a mystery.
hovering close to his face.
Yeah, and
just
you'd see him just off screen, or something would be obscuring his face or something like that. I think that's really effective.
I also thought the violence, while quite brutal, never went too far over the top.
No, it didn't go.
And the best ones were the ones when you didn't see him do it.
Yeah.
In fact, the best one of the lot is when he walks into that woman's kitchen,
The hammer.
and they don't move, but you just hear him go bang, 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 and her go.
So the table just.
And then he just walks over and picks up the knife, and as he turns back around, she's just laying there in a pool of her own blood.
Yeah.
I actually thought, to me, this reaffirmed that I think Rob Zombie missed the mark so much with Michael, because this one was equally as menacing and brutal.
Yeah.
But the way that Rob Zombie did that was, I've got to show everything as brutal as possible, as up close as possible, and show everything in graphic detail.
Yeah.
Whereas this one was like, he was fucking swift, he was efficient, and just did the job. But as you said, it was shot so much better and it was so much more chilling.
And sometimes it was just the aftermath, like the guy with his neck broken next to the bus.
Yeah.
You see that and you're like, Jesus
Or the dude
Christ.
in the service station with his fucking jaw
ripped off. You don't see any of that stuff.
Or the young kid pinned to the fucking wall, like the first one, with a knife through his back.
Yeah. And I watched this and I just thought the brutality is there in equal amounts.
Yeah, just
what
blunt
Rob Zombie
force.
did, but it was just shot so much.
And he
better.
had a tendency to grab people and just bang them into something.
Yeah.
You know, like it was all power. You know, like it was just he just grab you and like the way he kills the podcasters is just power. He just starts bashing that bloke's fucking head.
Yeah.
And he just breaks her neck. You know.
Yeah, that was one of the main things I noticed at the start is they give you a bunch of point of view characters you think you're going to be with for the movie, and then they just start picking them off, and you think, shit, no one's actually safe here. We don't know who is going to make it to the end. And I think that's really because it keeps you on edge as well. You think everyone's expendable, which you never usually think with these things. You see someone at the start and go, oh, that's your point of view hero character.
And I actually initially thought one of the Strode girls was going to go.
So I thought
He's going to put one of them away,
or maybe
and it could have been. Well, I was actually thinking that the twist might be that Laurie gets done.
Yeah,
and it's up to her daughter who doesn't want to borrow this survivalist bullshit, and her daughter to take him out.
Yeah,
but I wasn't upset about the fact that it didn't go that way.
No, I was pretty happy with the way it ended.
But it did keep me on edge. You know, I was kind of thinking, well, what's going to happen? Because at about halfway through, Laurie's in close proximity to the bloke.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking he might move on her.
Yeah, I was thinking, for some stretches, I was thinking Judy Greer was going to go because I thought the connection between the granddaughter and Laurie, I thought that was going to
be the one that mattered.
Yeah. But I was pretty happy with the way it all sort of played out.
Well, even there's up to the scene where Laurie gets stabbed in the abdomen, I thought, oh, that's it, she's toast.
Yeah.
And then she manages to go over the balcony and whatever else, and then he just gets distracted. But I thought, oh shit, they're actually doing it. She's actually going to get killed here.
Yeah.
And if they put you in a scene where you think that could happen, that's effective.
Yeah. All the nods to the other films were done in such a way that they didn't feel like they were just shoehorned in, like The Predator, where they shoved all this bullshit in.
Jesus, don't remind me.
This one did it right.
Almost all of it hit.
Yeah,
almost
like
all of it.
The little kids running around in the silver shamrock masks, which is from part 3. The boyfriend pinned to the wall like Bob. The girl covered in the sheet. Mm-hmm. You know, these were classic original staples, but they were there. But then you never sort of felt, oh fuck, you've just jammed that in.
Yeah.
So the fanboys can go, oh wow.
I actually really liked the school, the famous shot out the window where she sees Michael, and this time it's Laurie standing outside. I liked Laurie going over the balcony and being the one
who was gone.
Like, twisting that on its head was really good.
Cool. Yeah.
The fact that the first sort of thing he gets to when he escapes is the service station.
Yep.
Again, he's been around that a couple of times.
Halloween 4.
Yeah, it's sort of the
toilet was like H2O.
Yeah, I was really impressed with all
they kind of took little pieces and then just did something with it.
They let you know. They just showed you. They showed you and say, we know what we're doing. We've seen these. We know what you like and that. Yeah. But this is how we're going to do them and make them.
And I like that. The score.
Score's excellent.
Spectacular.
Exactly the same, but just he took it. There's a little bit of guitar involved. I think there's a little bit of violin at points.
Mixed in a few.
Just nicely sort of brings it in.
Bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah, even the bits without the like the other bits were actually equally as effective.
Yeah. It was a really good idea. Like, it was very smart to bring him back.
Yeah.
Even just to do that. I mean, he took his paycheck.
Yeah.
His paycheck, gave his blessing, and someone said, do you want to do the score? Yeah, I have nothing else to do.
Yeah, but he didn't mail it in.
He did it well.
Go, oh, look, I'm just going to rest on my laurels.
He did it well.
I'll just send out the same shit.
Yeah, I believe his son's involved in it too. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think his son's involved with the music as well. Yeah, you got to listen to. I think it's the last episode of Halloween Unmasked. Jason Blum goes into detail about the meeting that he had with John Carpenter, and he essentially said he goes. He says his memory is totally clear that it started at 3 p.m. and finished at 3:16. And he was like, he's just gruff, and he's like, what the fuck do you want to make another Halloween sequel for or whatever? But yeah, I think it's turned out for the best because they managed to get him into that role, And again, the score has never been anywhere close to the original until now.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's awesome to have those.
I think in a way, it seems that they might have got a bit of his passion back for it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Because he's very gruff about the Halloween films. He doesn't like
what
the
Blum
rest of them.
says is...
Well, imagine if that was your life's work and you had some of that shit happen to you.
Yeah, well, what Blum says is that's what Carpenter said. He's like, what the fuck are you asking me for? He said, either, you know, are you giving me final cut? And Blum said no. And he's like, so why the fuck would I bother? And Blum essentially said to him, you've got an open mic to the Halloween fans.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm not on board with this, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Basically. So he's like, that's your final cut. I'm not giving you final cut, but if you say this sucks, it's going to screw me over. So I want you to have input. You know?
Feel good about it.
Yeah, and it was kind of...
I mean, don't get me wrong, he's been keep getting them checks.
Yeah.
And there might be some real shit out there, but he's getting some checks.
Yeah, John, you got that new score? Money first?
Because it constantly says based on characters created by John Carpenter, so he gets his money every time.
Yeah.
But agreed, I think it brought a bit of passion back to him.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's really been a fan of any of the other sequels,
he hated
including Part 2.
He hated
the
Part
one
2
he
and
made.
he did it. I believe he openly admits that he knocked out the script in a night and
drank a six-pack of beer and decided...
he said he was a six-pack in when he came up with the brother-sister twist. So.
Yeah.
I really liked the opening credits.
Yeah.
It was such a cool little riff on the original in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It
and
looked like
they kept all the same font and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it it looked like a time lapse of rotting pumpkin.
Yeah.
It was reversed. Yeah. It was
yeah.
mouldy at the start and everything.
Really cool, really cool.
And I think the nod to Part 6 is in its eye. It's got like it looks like a thorn symbol.
Could have done without that.
Well, later one I believe is a nod to Part 6. This is later on.
I really liked... Well, you kind of mentioned this when you were talking about the nods to previous ones and whatever, but some of the kills, and Jared mentioned this as well with the brutality and everything, but a lot of the times with these, you're just getting a lot of rehashes of existing ones. But this one managed to be really gruesome and brutal at the same time, but still put it like its own twist. They didn't feel like they were just rote... like generic kills. Like you get the head stomp one.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty brutal. The jaw rip that you don't actually see the kill for, but like the aftermath of that, they're actually effective. They're not just like, oh yeah, we've seen this before. It's like a machete through the face sort of shit.
Yeah.
Most of the kills in this were good. You didn't see how they would happen until it happened.
But because they moved away from them enough, you got half them and then you got half the aftermath.
Yeah.
And the aftermath was gruesome enough that you were like, oh shit.
Even the one with like the kid in the backyard, I was like, that's pretty sort of standard. We've seen those things used before, like the light going on and off. But the kind of last shot of that, of Michael kind of lunging toward the camera with the knife going up, I'm like, that kind of felt fresh in a way. Like it's...
I've got a big problem with that scene though, because motion sensor.
They usually work like that.
It's not. It's not
like our motion sensor goes on and stays on for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, but also if you move, it goes on.
goes
You don't
back
get to
on.
move somewhere else, and then the light comes on when you're ready. It's,
Correct.
Yeah, but anyway, we won't worry about that yet.
I did like it. I did like the shot though of him standing like only meters away from him, and then the light just goes out.
Yeah.
Because
I'm thinking, fuck, he's going to end up on being behind him, isn't he?
Yeah. No, it's an effective thing, and even with that, the kid trying to climb, like you've seen the one where the kid climbs the ladder and you know gets dragged back down or gets stabbed, but then the thing going through his jaw.
That was nasty.
Yeah, and it was just effective.
Yeah.
I don't like to say this because we're talking about a horror film, but it had a bit more depth. It actually had a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of the PTSD and Laurie's... That sequence of her sitting outside the mental
prison,
hospital and prison as the bus is coming out, she's got a gun, and you think that she's just going to blow his fucking head off.
Yeah.
That was a really good scene. Like, it was just a really cool way to show that she'd never got over this shit.
Yeah. Well, I was very sceptical of the idea of the transfer.
Yeah.
But that ended up being one of my favourite sections of the movie. Her sitting out the front with that, and then the Loomis voiceover going at the same time.
Yeah.
And then,
he needs to be killed, and he needs to be his whole body needs to be incinerated.
And then her ending up at the restaurant.
Yeah.
That was kind of fucking heartbreaking stuff. Like when she goes in and starts swilling.
Swilling, piercing.
She's trying really hard to kind of
Get
be there
past
for
it,
the kid.
And her daughter just
fucking
goes,
breaks down.
cuts to the chase immediately. This is why we don't invite you to eat.
Exactly.
The daughter's an
Exactly.
asshole in the
she
big
is,
scheme of things. Like, clearly your mum's been through a lot, and I mean, I get that your childhood probably wasn't really ideal, but she goes too, like, she doesn't give her any leeway.
Yeah, but I kind of like that
restaurant.
because they actually flash back to her childhood for a brief second, and she's just standing there out the front of the restaurant going, "My childhood was she's basically talking in almost monotone, like, my childhood was basically a fucking wreck. All we ever did was this shit." So you can see how she'd be fucking pretty pissed off about it.
Well, she had her own scars and that sort of thing.
So I kind of dug that. I dug the fact that she wasn't cutting her any slack.
The depth for me came in the whole fucking Me Too stuff, to be honest. Like the way that it's affecting everybody. Like from the outset, the podcasters are pestering Laurie and she's like, "I'm the victim here and you're talking about this guy. Like, we need to understand him." I'm like, that's very pointed, especially from a film that came out of like the Weinstein Company. That sort of stuff was very pointed. I loved the interactions the daughter had with those guys. And I'm like, this is just, they're just painting these two guys are both fuckwits, and their interactions with women are just kind of heading in this one direction, and so in the end it's the girls that have got to kind of band together and you know, stand against that sort of stuff. And I felt a lot of that stuff was very kind of pointed, but it was really relevant. I loved things like the kid talking to his dad going, "Dad, I'll go hunting with you on the weekend, but I really love my dancing." And the dad there going, "Oh, you sure dancing's for you?"
Can't be that important to you.
Like, they were just little changes.
And the kid sort of goes, "Dancing's my life right now."
They kind of added heaps. They added heaps to it, and they mixed up all these kind of, you know, one of the guys being part of that whole, you know, three girls walking down the street that we got in the original. This time it's a guy who's a little bit off kilter. Then there's the dude that's going on about losing his virginity. And usually it's the girl that's being kind of used as the object almost. And he's this fucking bozo that's tattooing the date that he's going to get laid on his arm, and he looks like the idiot.
I actually thought, and you know, Jared, I like you were skeptical about the podcasters. I was concerned. I felt that it was a little bit exposition heavy. They were there specifically to kind of get everyone up to speed.
Their first scene when they're walking in the reception at the mental hospital is brutally...
Total crap. Like they're just rambling on about the entire first film.
And did you know that this happened?
I was initially thinking, oh, fuck, what have we got ourselves into? But I actually kind of thought they were okay. It was a decent enough lead-in to get us up to speed that we were a sequel to the original and only a sequel to the original. I had a problem with the mask. You don't just give me one throwaway line about where you got the mask from. That's not how it works.
I'm sure security's checking your bag and going, what's this?
What's this? We're talking about a very well-known serial killer. That shit's not getting handed out.
Look, I've got some return serve that I'll save for the dislikes, but I agree. When I saw it, the idea is totally relevant. When they talked about how can we get this sort of back into the spotlight, and they're bang on that podcasters
these true crime podcasts,
podcasts are one of the ways.
Ours is a podcast.
It's one of the ways that they're getting this out there, and I actually really thought choosing them was a good start.
It wasn't a bad idea.
Got a few issues with it, which I'll get to, but I was happy enough with taking that as the medium and trying to get to Laurie and Michael those ways. I saw them and I thought, they've kind of hit on what some of those people do. They try to talk to you and kind of...
what I liked was that it wasn't just about going to see Michael. They went to see Laurie and they got the gobful about how, you know, there's nothing more to learn about this. You know? And them sort of saying, we think he'll speak to you.
But her response is correct too. You'd be like, I don't give a shit.
I don't care if he speaks to me.
I'm not trying to help this bloke.
But I kind of copped it. I let it slide. I've got dislikes to it, and the problem, as I said, was exposition. They are just filling in everything. You know, it's kind of
they're the file.
It's a little bit clunky. It's very clunky.
It's like they've never spoken before. They're researching this case in depth, but it's like, oh, I can't believe we're here. He's been here for 4 years. Like, we've been over that about 15 times.
What it should have been, you know what it should have been? You know what it should have been? It should have been the podcast episode overlaying them coming into the prison, which is explaining that. Because in a podcast, that's what you do in those true crime podcasts. You give the background.
Yeah, that could have been interesting.
That could have been a little more successful.
Yeah.
Once Michael actually gets on the stalk, gets his mask back,
Hmm.
the movie picks up heaps of pace. It really hits then, because that's when he's rolling through the streets, cutting a swath,
Yep.
and they bring in some of those cool nods where the two kids run into him, and he just sort of goes,
The hammer. And
looks over towards where the woman is, and then thinks,
Yeah.
he does love a hammer. He
Yes,
seems to
the hammer.
find plenty of hammers around.
Wouldn't you stick with the claw hammer? Why isn't it upgrade to go to a butcher's knife?
I think claw hammer's got more pepper, mate.
I actually really liked that. Not thinking about some of the logistics around things, I really liked that he just found the hammer. That was the first thing. Then he went into that chick who, if I'm not mistaken, was dressed just like one in Halloween.
And making a sandwich. Like
Same thing. Yeah.
And he just nails her, and then he's like, the knife.
Yeah.
That's what I was after.
Yeah.
I really...
And then he just sort of cruises. I love the fact that they don't just stop there. He cruises next door.
Yeah.
And he just looks around and thinks that,
She'll do.
Yeah,
she'll do. Destroy
some of that
that
stuff
no
was
reason.
excellent. Even before he gets the mask, that service station scene was excellent. When he first comes into the bathroom where the chick's in there, his fucking footsteps and the squeaking of the shoes is so unsettling.
And
she's going, there's someone in here, and then you just hear the squeak squeak of his feet for a
and
while.
then they just shoot everything from down low, where he opens one toilet.
So good. It was
and then
so
just walks
good.
back out, and he's
So
slowly
methodical.
moving through.
Even that scene though, like the dropping of the teeth over it. If you're sitting there taking a shit and someone drops teeth,
I'm taking another shit.
You're just, thank you. And you are the Metamucil.
I immediately taking another shit.
It's a triple decker. Yeah.
But look, even that scene, like this is what I was talking about with the curveball with the point of view characters. Like you expect her to escape from that, and then old mate comes in and hits him with the crowbar, and you're like, oh, yeah, no worries. Nah, Michael just fucking smokes both of them.
Yeah. Oh, if you're gonna kill me, at least let me wipe my backside first.
Yeah.
I don't want to die with a bloody dirty ass. This is not Crystal Lake.
That's where I'm going. I'm dropping a taco in here. Whipping out a knife out of him, dude. Halloween fucking remake style.
That's right.
But what I love about it is, initially when I saw the trailer, I thought that teeth bit was a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, this doesn't strike me as what
He would
we
do.
would have got in the original. But I kind of dug it because
It works really
he
well.
shakes the door.
Yeah.
She's like, there's someone in here, and he's just standing there for like about 10 seconds or something, and he just sort of goes,
Yeah.
and just drops them over.
Yeah.
And
If you
it's like-
sort of think of, you're in real shit now.
Yeah. You've seen the shot before that, and then it's just like when the teeth come in there, as you said, it's fucking frightening.
Yeah.
Just thinking about, like, you're sitting there thinking, imagine if someone actually did that.
Yeah.
Like, I was in the cubicle at Hoyt's or something, and someone's just dropped those teeth in there. Like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, it was really unsettling. And I was the same. When I saw that in the trailer, I was like, it really doesn't fit. But
A bridge
the
too
end
far,
result,
maybe. Yeah.
the end result
Yeah.
is excellent.
But that whole sequence in the servo thing, like going back to him being known as the Shape, when you different views and stuff, and you see him just laying the punches into the guy through the back window and stuff, and no one's aware that's happening. He's just in the background doing his thing.
Yeah.
All of that through the movie was spot on.
Yeah, I really liked it, and I thought, surprisingly, because I was actually very concerned about those particular scenes where he was going to get his mask back and all that.
Yeah.
I do have one dislike to it, but for the most part, I thought it was really, really well handled.
Yeah.
And the same with the actual bus crash,
Yeah.
because they don't show it. All they show is the bus has crashed. There's all these dudes wandering around.
Yeah.
And then...
And it was very reminiscent of the original in that regard.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like that's why they did it. They just went with that so they could have that
And the
same looking people wandering
The doctor
around.
makes a mention of basically Michael attacked one of the guards.
Yeah, that's
So
all.
essentially, we know that Michael was the one who made the move to escape.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to see it because when you see it, you have to see the machinations, and you always look at them and go,
Really?
right, okay. So no one's got a fucking shotgun or something where they can just go back and boom.
Yeah.
See you later.
Oh, like he's figured out a way to get out of the cuffs.
out of the cuffs or something.
Yeah.
So they just dispensed with it all. I said, you don't even have to ask those questions.
Yeah, you just get the
We're just going
aftermath.
to give you the aftermath, and he's gone. And I thought, again, that was quite coolly shot with a little bit of fog. Nod to Halloween 5.
Just for atmosphere.
It was just foggy. There's sort of all you could see them. You couldn't see their faces though because the fog was sort of up. Michael wasn't in the background going, tiptoeing side to side like he needed to take a piss.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little more, it was a little scarier in the background of this one.
In terms of the added atmosphere, we mentioned it in mirrors, but mannequins for the win.
Oh,
mannequins are just creepy.
let me tell you this. After getting attacked in my own home by a psychopath, I am fucking questioning why I've got mannequins in the house.
Extra
Who the fuck put these here?
Yeah. They're extra stock for her shooting range.
Yeah, but it's like not in here.
Not in a dump.
In an outhouse building.
Build a shed.
Yeah, put it out there.
Yeah.
You're not. I don't need them in the house when there's no lights.
And when the what was the younger girl's name? The daughter.
Alison was it?
Yeah, Alison, yeah. So when she's running through the forest and stumbles onto, like, where obviously the shot up ones, even when they've been shot in the face, it's like, they're actually more creepy.
Yeah,
that was
That's really good.
Nice little chill there.
Yeah.
Although she'd been running for a long time, considering they seem to be stopped just down the road from the gate.
Yeah, but did she know where her grandma lived? Had she been there before? I wasn't sure on that front.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it.
No.
Because she sort of just runs through the forest.
She didn't know where she lived. She hadn't been able to go out. She hadn't gone out there and seen her.
Yeah.
Laurie had come to her a few times. The last 20 minutes is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it is the strength of the film is there because you finally get the finale that you wanted where they actually take each other on. Pretty heavy duty too. He throws her around. She lays a slipper into him a couple of times.
Yeah.
Blows his fucking hand off.
Yeah.
That was nasty. The other thing I liked about that bit where his hands come through the door, he's kind of trying to gouge her eyes out. Like he's not just holding onto her. He's trying to get her, and I really like that stuff. And the actual ending, especially when Laurie's daughter makes out like, I can't do it, I can't do it, and then he appears and she goes, gotcha.
Yeah, that was really
lets
cool.
him have it. I thought that was cool because it showed she reverted back to what she actually did know.
Yeah, the training.
She had learned.
So the message of the film is give your children PTSD.
Yeah.
Pass on all your fears to your children.
Ruin their childhood.
Lock them in basements.
And then I just love the fact it's not a cage, it's a trap.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And he's just standing there looking up at her.
When the shot of him when the fire goes up, just standing there was excellent as well. Like,
I've got a huge problem with that scene, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Well, I've got concerns about the whole fucking house going up, not just the room. But anyway, the visual of that, when it's going up.
But it was just a cool way to end it.
So was it just me, or was the kid being babysat actually really funny?
I found him funny.
He was just felt out of place, but he's like, I'm sitting here clipping my nasty.
That shit was good.
He was good.
And I like when she's talking about, the Alakazam, whatever, he's like, you're going to be in here smoking weed, huh? Alakazam, you're smoking weed.
Don't treat me like an idiot. The kid had charisma.
But I thought, again, that was a nice little update because in the original, they were just like, I'm just going to sit here and watch the TV. Then I'm going to look outside it. And now it's this little kid who fucking knows everything, which is just that's just modern day.
I thought that was another sequence that worked. Logistically, not sure how he got in the closet.
Yeah.
Without being seen.
No, he was in there before he went to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but
I'm sure he's been there.
But this guy's what, 6'4", 6'5"?
It's a big closet.
He's bumbling around. He stinks like us.
The kid's got a large yak fur coat that's still
Maybe he's a big fan.
Michael's standing next to Vin Diesel's yak jacket.
I was going to say he's a big fan of Triple X. He's got a yak jacket in there.
But that was effective shit.
Yeah.
And she tries to close the door and then she opens it and he just sort of stands up like that. Really, really well done.
Yeah.
And it was a sequence that I really also dug where Laurie sort of sees him through the window and it's obvious it's him looking into the mirror.
And then she shoots,
Yeah, I thought that was another really cool touch. But for me, the finale was the bit that I really, you were almost like punching the air because it was kind of like what we had been waiting to see.
Yeah.
Because you didn't, even looking back on the original, the finale of that is not.
It's actually
they don't really fight.
No.
She just kind of she defends herself and that's it.
Yeah.
This was an actual a blue, and my wife did have a query about why you wouldn't close off all your rooms anyway. And if he happened to be in one, well, stiff shit, he's caught.
Yeah.
But I still thought that was a cool thing where she was clearing the rooms and then... she'd close them off one by one.
Yep. The little kid though, just going back quickly to the babysitted kid, his last line is his best one. It was kind of like a throwaway as he's running past. He's like, "You're gonna die, Dave," because Dave's going up to be like a quasi, I guess, hero in the end. Like the kid doesn't act like you would actually act in that scenario. He felt a little bit too comedic for me.
Yeah,
but he definitely had. He's got some charisma.
I had a couple of laughs to break it up. I also appreciated the whole banh mi conversation. I was like, wow, I thought that was funny.
About the sandwich.
I'll
make you a peanut butter and jam banh mi. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, I love when he's talking about.
He's like, I cooked. What have you got for dinner? I cooked myself this bloody dodgy looking bloody
brownie with some chocolate. That's a 5-year-old would make they can make their own dinner. It was just a weird conversation.
It was weird, but
that's Danny McBride, isn't it? Sure.
I'm pretty sure that's Danny McBride, but it also served to kind of just take you out of the moment for a second and make you kind of feel safe and whatever, and then you're, oh fuck, we're back in business here. Like it was. I thought they broke it up.
I was initially concerned that there was because a lot of the reviews were saying there's quite a bit of humour, but there wasn't.
There wasn't that much.
It was really.
There was a couple of little moments, and I felt they worked.
I felt the friend in high school. He wasn't funny at all, and I don't think he was really meant to be.
The one that tries to kiss on him.
Yeah.
He was, not needed, I don't think.
Yeah. It was just
he was the classic, like, quote-unquote friend zone kid that ends up being the creep.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the good guy, and he's not.
Yeah.
But he actually reminded me of the guy that plays Froggy in Daredevil. He gave me that vibe.
True.
Very similar to that dude from the Butterfly Effect.
Yeah, Eldon Henson or whatever.
Yeah. But him in Butterfly Effect is a very sort of similar character.
Yeah.
And he even looks the same as the guy, but he felt really superfluous. And the boyfriend, even the boyfriend, I didn't understand that one either.
I kind of liked, the thing that I liked about it was he got called for his fucking bullshit behaviour too. Like,
oh no, it's great that they did, but they just seemed like they were unnecessary.
It felt like that was almost the only reason he was in the movie.
That was kind of
fine if you want to point.
He felt a bit like fodder.
Yeah.
He felt like he was there for that set piece and to be told, to make a move on it and be told to stick it.
Just because I'm not in a relationship.
Because he only had like one or two other scenes.
Yeah.
So he had no flesh.
Yeah.
Like you knew the boyfriend ball.
Yeah.
And in fact, it probably could have had him instead.
Yeah.
You could have gone with the old classic, I don't want to have sex with you sort of thing. He could have been the guy because we knew him a little bit more. The arc was there.
Yeah, but you kind of I liked that you got both of them in there. You got both these fucking teenage boys that are usually kind of championed for some of that behaviour in some of the movies that we've seen over the years, including the Halloween movies.
Yeah.
For that kind of pursuit of women, for that and nothing else.
Yeah.
So I was kind of happy that you got this angle of both of them. You're both assholes, basically.
Did the boyfriend end up getting...
No. He
didn't see him again after the pudding sequence.
Yeah, she basically told him it was over.
Yeah, right. Because he was kind of just done away with. You think he could have been the one that
he could have been in there somehow as well.
But I was okay with that because you don't necessarily have to kill everyone.
Yeah,
like there's characters that don't need to die in these films. He was there. He served a certain purpose, but I felt you probably could have ditched the other bloke and just had him run through.
Well, all he ended up doing is being the reason she didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah, because he threw it in the pudding.
Yeah. But I just like the fact that this guy is supposed to be the guy that we somehow kind of relate to sometimes, the funny guy off to the side that's not getting the ladies. Oh, here's his shot. And in another movie, you might have the fucking, I don't know, the Peter Gabriel song come on in the background and he gets the win, and it's like, nah.
He's a tool.
That stuff's bullshit, and this is what it's actually, you're actually a jerk.
Like, and also these girls aren't commodities. Traded between.
Yeah, you don't just decide, you're no longer with, because he actually says that.
Yeah.
But you're not with him anymore.
Yeah, that doesn't mean.
But that doesn't mean you're in with the show, mate.
We used to be friends. We're allowed to be that.
Anyone that likes? Yeah.
Not specifically, no.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered them. There was a lot to like.
Dislikes.
All right. Have we all got the same big problem?
Yes, but I'm going to start with the podcasters. They provided way too much. They provided some very stilted,
unnatural
exposition.
Well, let's be clear. These are the world's worst, highly experienced journalists. Podcasters. Yeah. They're fucking awful.
Yeah, they're really good at really relating to their subjects and easing them into getting information out. Just starting with just victim blaming Laurie Strode.
Exactly.
Like, way to get people offside straight.
Good way to start. You wanted to do an interview with you, but you immediately get off the back foot.
You awaken the beast. You get into the hospital. Give this bloke motivation that he seemingly has been happy to fucking not look at for 40 years.
Yeah.
So you awaken the beast. You victim blame Laurie. quite frankly, doing a terrible job of it, fucking mumbling it, stumbling around at the gate, and then here's $3,000, like,
Yeah.
and getting nothing out of the interview other than told to fuck off, basically, and then you get killed. Like, you really, really, you know.
As I said, I think it would have been better to have them coming into the facility to the sound of one of their podcasts, explaining the situation.
Explain what they're doing, yeah.
And cleaned up a bit of the exposition.
And then guess what? You wouldn't have had the worst part of the movie.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had to have that. Because the worst part of the movie is that fucking doctor.
The doctor.
Yeah.
Which was
Was that what you were referring to, Jared, before I saw it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Just getting back to the podcasters, the mask, this is what I picked up from the Attorney General. So the Attorney General goes handing out fucking masks of psychopaths.
I think it was someone in the Attorney General's office that has slipped it under
See,
the
to me, you would have been better off going...
And that's what they said.
We paid off a bloody dodgy cop or something. And they handed it to us.
Yeah, just say we got this from the Attorney General, and then wink and rub your fingers together like a bit of money or something. Just give us something.
We made it rain.
Yeah.
And the Attorney General's office. My other problem with the podcaster's death, one minute when they get to the truck stop, there seems to be a hive of activity. There's quite a few people around.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, Michael is bashing people's fucking heads in with nobody seeing it.
There's multiple cars when they put up with people in them. Yeah.
Sees him or hears that girl getting butchered in the toilet.
Screaming for help.
Nobody hears any of that.
And I'm not going to, you know, if I'm that lady sitting in the car, I'm on high alert when I see a guy stroll past in a hospital gown to start with.
Yes.
Because she, as far as I'm aware, she saw him.
Or the white...
You mean the lady in the red van?
Yeah.
That does the eye movement thing?
Yeah, and then old mate for the podcast starts saying the peace sign. What?
But see, she was clearly trying to gesture for him to look, but like, if you're going to warn someone, just say, there's someone over there that's going to
Or
murder
wind your
you.
window down. Hey, check this bloke out. Like,
Yeah, because it was obviously he's trying to do something, and Almo didn't read it at all, but she could have done more.
Yeah.
Now, and then he comes out and he puts the mask on, which I thought was cool. It was a cool scene
That's
where he
a
sort of
big-
puts
yeah.
the mask on
Yeah.
and looks up. But nobody again's going, who the fuck is that dude?
Yeah.
Who's there?
Giant
Worked
dude
a
in
bit
a white
better.
jumpsuit.
Worked much better on the street where it was, you know, Halloween night.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've done that even in Halloween 4, you know, he sneaks into the shop, but then outside the shop you could see, he'd probably get away with it because people are starting to ramp up into their costumes and all that sort
Am
of
I
stuff.
to assume he took the car?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he took the car.
He does it a couple of times. He steals the police car later.
Because,
on
you
as
know,
well.
I was harking back to H2 where he just seemed to walk.
No, he just fucking zaps himself.
Hobo Joe decided to walk fucking Haddonfield. There was, to me, no reason to kill that little boy
That was a
at
bit
the
dark.
bus.
Yeah.
No.
I just didn't see why that was necessary because that's not in the Michael Myers book. And it should have been like in the first movie where the kid's running, you know, how they talk shit to Tommy.
Yeah.
And they run off and he grabs
him.
Should have been like that. He just took the gun from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let him go.
I think...
I thought the kid was going to get in the car and drive off and like run him, like bump him with a car or something and manage to escape.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be in the car. I thought the kid was going to go to crawl to jump into the car, and then it was just going to go vroom, and he was going to fucking
That would have been fine too.
fall over. Yeah,
But again, I'll give him props because you don't expect to see that. Like you very rarely see this.
I guess they threw it a little bit at
it's just always a bit. Yeah, it's always a bit off to see that done on screen. It's always hard to see the kids.
Well,
Because he snaps his neck. Like,
It put me in two minds later on too when he walks into the baby's room with the crib, and I'm like, "Fuck! If he's going to murder this,"
and he
baby.
kind of looks down at the baby.
He stops. He definitely stalls and looks at it,
Yeah,
and
and then
you're
he just
supposed to think,
walks
"Shit, he might do this," and then he just keeps moving.
Yeah.
But yes, my biggest problem was Dr. Sartain.
Doctor, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was a huge mistake.
Big misstep.
Because the twist on him, that's what I thought was a throwback to part 6. He is fucking rambling.
I know.
He's rambling
I
about...
thought he was going to pull his sleeve up and show the fucking...
It's like
He could have ended up being one of the patients that had tricked him into thinking he was a doctor and managed to escape somehow like that. He was that unhinged.
I feel
And it was
like...
telegraphed as well.
Yeah, he could have been saying to people, give her 300 cc's of morphine. Stab. He's standing around with giant syringes.
I'm a doctor, I'm going to stand this guy.
I feel like... So my reading of it was... he sounded like Loomis.
Yeah.
So they wanted you to think this is the new Loomis and get really on board with it, and then twist that on its head.
But they didn't get. You never got on board with
You
him.
never got on board with him, and
I
the twist was
picked it
so
straight away.
fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Like,
Dumb
it was
and
just-
telegraphed,
it
though.
was so
To me,
bad.
the twist only existed to get Michael in the vicinity of Laurie's house because he
Which
didn't
was-
know where she was.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I think they would have done it.
Yeah.
But it was so stupid, and the thing is, you didn't need Sartain. What you needed was a little bit more of the documentation and the tapes of Loomis talking about Michael as a fill-in kind of thing. The podcast is picking up the rest of that slack.
Yeah.
You don't need Sartain. He goes,
I was pretty happy with it when he was like Loomis's kind of
Counterpart.
yeah, but he was a fucking bozo. Like
Yeah.
when Will Patton and the other guy standing there going, one of them says, "This guy's an asset." And he's like, he's a fucking liability. And you see him sitting on the chair asking for something stupid. And I'm like, that you should have kept that. Like he's kind of your Loomis, but the turn on its head is the police aren't going to fucking have a doctor riding on board with them. It's not going to happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like
one of
it's-
he actually had a pretty funny line too, because I was like, just sit there and don't move. He goes, I already was just sitting there and moving. What else do you want me to do?
Yeah.
yeah, like I just felt he was a misstep, and he could have been excised totally. I just felt that you had those cool references to Loomis, the drawn picture of him at court, the tape of his voice.
Again, it's a little bit of the exposition. You couldn't have done Loomis's tapes the whole time.
No.
You couldn't have had someone saying, you know, how'd Michael get out? And then quickly over the top, just have Loomis go. Just
No,
talking about
you didn't need a lot of Loomis,
like that.
but you only needed one. You needed to have him in their reference, which they did.
It was just that connection to, you know, whenever there's that talk about a little bit of that further exposition about, this is what he did for the last 40 years in the hospital. It was easy to have him around.
But when he twists on us and he stabs the cop, and the cop runs over Michael, and then he starts rambling on about how I want to hear what he's got to say.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Nobody wants to hear what he's got to say. He's got nothing to say.
When he stood up in front of the cop car with the mask on,
Yeah.
I went head in hands. I
Yeah.
thought, they fucked it.
Yeah, did you think he was actually dead and he's
fucked it?
Yeah. I was panicking, man. I'm like, don't try and turn this guy
Yeah.
into the killer.
Nah.
I wasn't sure if he was. I still wasn't sure that he was going to be dead. I thought he's going to get up, but I just wasn't sure where it was going to go with the doctor. I was thinking a little bit of fucking WWE, Paul Bear and the Undertaker. I thought he was going to be walking there going, "Get him, Michael," or something like that. I'm like,
No, but
oh,
thankfully
man.
they quickly realised the error of their ways and stomped on his head.
Do you think any of that was? Any of that stuff was reshoot?
Maybe.
Because they did do a small amount of
Yeah,
reshoot, so
well,
think
what
some
I
of
read
that
is
may
they
have been
reshot the ending.
lessened.
The ending was different, from what I heard.
I don't. Yeah, maybe it wasn't as much of that, but fuck, that was a bad idea. I think actually, now that I think about it, I think Danny McBride did mention that head stomp was in the script for the whole way. So
I'm not going to say it was minor, because to me it was major. And that's why I dropped a point and a half.
it took a real
Because it
took some
really
getting over. It took some getting over.
If the finale had been any less impressive, I'd have been fucking blowing up when I was coming out of there.
Okay.
Because the finale, I forgot all about it. As soon as the finale ramped up, I'd forgotten about that bozo. He's out there with his head squashed into the ground. I don't care one bit about him. But there's just the way he twisted, and then he's just talking shit in the car.
Just rambling.
He's just crapping on about nothing. And I'm just thinking, God, where did we come up with this?
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, is this the throwback to part 6?
Just to add to, if I'm ever a non criminal that gets getting in the back of the cop car, I'm making sure they turn off the child locks.
Yeah.
How many
Definitely.
times has this got to happen to someone where they get trapped in the back of a fucking cop car?
No.
All the time.
You know what, too? Just coming back to his escape. Who's putting a 5-time murderer on a fucking bus? Come on. You are
what I mean.
not
He-
transporting him
He
on a
shouldn't be
bus.
locked in with butterfly
But
chases.
when they showed him walking out of the asylum too, and he's just in a line with these other guys.
Yeah.
like this is.
I'm pretty sure he just brutally murders one of those blokes.
Yeah, this is not how you do it.
Yeah, if he's getting transferred, he's getting transferred on his own
Yeah.
with a full team. You know,
It's the bloody Hannibal Lecter setup, isn't it? Put this on, fucking strap your arms down.
Yeah.
You strap him to
you
the
are
board,
strapped into
straight
that
jacket.
thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Strapped
he's not
down.
going anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just felt that could have been a real cock up. It could have. It thankfully was saved by some nice light stepping out of that situation after a 5-minute sort of detour into bullshit land. We got back on deck.
Speaking
So I was
of
happy with that.
speaking of cock ups, you obviously loved the last pinnacle of the action sort of scene. I had a lot of problems with the fact that Laurie's supposed to be this tactical that she's been planning for 40 years. She goes down, she's handing the guns out to people. She's like, "Oh, this use a revolver, it doesn't jam.
No.
You do this like this is a rifle's got good stopping power, or whatever." And then she gets the shotgun. She goes, "This is tactical." And then when she's walking through a dark house, she uses a fucking breech loading lever action rifle.
Yeah.
If he's with it, that's the worst weapon you can.
Yeah, but where did
possibly
she
use
get
for
that? Because she dropped the shotgun. Is that right?
Didn't she blew
lost
his
the
fingers
shotgun.
off with the
Yeah.
shotgun?
She dropped the shotgun.
I'm not sure
lost
what
it.
she get, but that's not the gun you
No,
use.
no.
And why wouldn't you
She had it
just
sound like
stay?
there was a large selection.
Yeah.
She could have picked.
Why wouldn't you
I'll
stay
get
in
the biggest
basement?
gun you've got.
I don't know. She shoots through the floor and then she goes, "I've got to go finish this." Stay in the basement.
Yeah, but the way I read that was she always wanted him there. That was always going to come into play. Because my wife was saying, "Why would you fire up into the
You
the
let him
floor?
know where you are."
Let him know where you are." Because they actually wanted him in there.
Yeah,
But if that's the
well,
case, then you don't get your granddaughter and your daughter to go there.
Yeah, I know,
You
but
lure him in there somehow. and
obviously she had to move on the fly. Things weren't going as planned, I don't believe.
Yeah.
But the whole idea was that, and I appreciated it, was that she always talked about how she just wanted to hide away and never ever talk to the world or whatever.
Yeah.
But she really wanted him there.
to lure him there.
To lure him there. 'cause
That's
that was
fine.
The,
So
that
then
was the
when she knows he's out the front of the house,
finalisation.
when we're talking tactics, she goes up to the only door in the house
Yeah,
that
back
has glass
to it.
windows and sticks her face against it.
I don't know about you, mate, but I'm throwing open that door, shotgun in hand. Come on, pussy! Let's rock and roll!
The guy has no ranged attacks.
Yeah.
He uses brute force and blunt objects.
And he
to
doesn't
stab him.
move at speed.
He's slow, so you just want to be in an open
Yeah.
space where he's got to come at you.
You're charging out Ash style, are you? Who wants some?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's a better chance than what she did. Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
stick my face against his door so he can grab me in it. Like,
Yeah. I mean, look, there was obviously some things where
It's like he's there. Oh, he's not there now. I better
I don't know where
stick
he
my
is.
face closer to the door.
Yeah.
have a
what was the
peek
face
around.
against the door achieving? That's what I don't understand. Was she listening? I don't know. Just
I don't know.
if you've been planning for 40 years, I feel like you do better.
I did like the fact that she looks out through the glass and he's just standing there going, sort of watching.
Yeah,
her.
I just killed this bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even old mate though, when the cop car pulls up and he just unlocks all the doors, goes outside. I'm like, oh, well, you can get in now. Like, that was pretty easily circumvented.
Yeah.
One of the guy's head was on a stick or something, wasn't it?
He
torch,
ripped his
wasn't
it?
face
Yeah,
off
yeah.
and then stuck a torch inside it as like a jack-o'-lantern homage. Yeah,
Which was pretty
that was creepy.
full on.
Yeah, that was full on. To me, the biggest problem was the doctor.
100%.
For sure.
And if you take that out, the film gets exponentially better.
I think,
It's far better.
I think if Danny McBride gets an interview about that doctor, I think it's just going to be a what drugs?
Yeah, that's right.
Like that was just.
It just
baffling.
kind of felt out of place.
I
It was like, what the hell have we done here? Like I was this close to go, what? What's happened?
Can anyone explain to me why Alison is so dead set on having a grandmother that she barely knows in her life? That's never really explained why she's so gung-ho on getting
Yeah, because
her involved.
because there's not a lot of. She obviously doesn't know the story of her of Laurie's daughter until that night at the
Yeah.
dinner, where she explains to her mum took my bloody childhood away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me running around in the bloody
But
forest like an idiot.
I had an estranged grandmother for reasons, and I just took it as like, okay, that's fine. That's how this is. I didn't have like the drive to go and that might be just me, but it just seems like a weird thing. If your mum tells you your grandmother's crazy and she's unsafe and don't be around her.
I think what they were trying to portray was mum's a liar. Mum
Yeah,
keeps
there
telling
was a bit
me,
of that she knew
did you contact grandma?
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to her. Yeah, she's not going to be able to make it. Mum's lying, basically.
It just seemed like that like you're already far past where a kid would have bothered.
Yeah, I know, but she
Unless
was
you had a prior
she was
relationship.
taking it from the point of I'm now 18 or whatever, and I want to know my
rebelling, maybe.
grandmother.
I think some of it that I got from it was that Karen had tried previously. Like, it seemed like there was attempts to keep Laurie involved, so there was a pre-existing relationship that...
If that was the case, it made more sense. It just
really
seemed like she'd been estranged the whole time, and she just didn't. She'd never had a bond.
And of course,
there was definitely estrangement, but it seemed to me, I got the sense that although she was keeping her at arm's length, that Karen had tried.
Yeah, okay.
And
so, I don't know. That's what I got from it.
Alison has that sequence where she's walking with her friends and talking about Laurie, so she's kind of like someone you want to find out. You know, like she faced this
like someone that
and she
finds out
survived.
their real dad's a person.
How do we? You know, I want to know more. I want to know more about this. So it was kind of like she was kind of, because she was getting older, she wanted to sort of investigate it, and that Mum kept telling her stories. I think that was the gist.
Yeah,
it was a little clunky because it didn't quite explain it. Because I'm a bit like you. I was kind of like, you know, I got you know, parties to attend.
Yeah.
Marijuana to smoke.
I've
got things I have to do.
Yeah, it just seemed like a weird thing.
I haven't got time to worry about Grandma, who's basically a hermit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My last major one, and it's in that final sequence again, when they finally get Michael trapped and the bars go across the top of the stairs or whatever, and they start lighting up the gas, he's standing 5 feet away. They have a gun. Shoot him in the face. Why are we... Like, no one saw a body at the end, guys. Just putting it out there. Yeah, you mentioned the possibility of a sequel.
We need a sequel.
Why don't you just finish the bloke
because
off?
you don't do this in these movies.
No,
you don't, because they're always talking
There's
about
too much money to be made.
They're always talking about money, and so they never. And look, they probably wisely did it.
I think they
in a sense of
where they cut his head off and then thought, oh shit, this made a lot of money. Now we have to explain that cutting his head off.
It's just a tough sell again with the Laurie tactical.
You think she would blow his brain?
I'm coming here to finish this bloke off.
You know that.
I kind of liked it because, in a sense of, you'd think that house is just gone to bloody ash. He's dead, but we're not going to show it just in case we want to.
I actually think it would have worked better them hightailing it. They were like, we're blowing our fucking house up. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And so they just fucking go and assume that.
Yeah, like if there's a timer or something and they don't have an opportunity to finish it. But they're standing there just staring at him as he stares up, and they're like, you just
with
do it.
With a few guns.
Yeah.
I think 2 of them have guns, don't they?
No, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, you unload.
Yep.
Although, Laurie's lost her gun because she attacks Michael with a knife.
Or maybe
Karen drops hers when Michael grabs her by the
Allison's
foot.
only got the knife as well.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't have
So
one.
they didn't have a weapon because he grabs her by the foot and
Problem
she
solved.
The daughter
loses a gun.
Oh, okay, maybe they didn't have one then.
It's a scramble
I might have mucked that up then.
But still, if I had a gun, he's copping the both barrels.
when
he's copping both barrels, reload both barrels.
when he steps into the thing, she does the gotcha. Yeah. Does she not shoot him in the face?
No, she shoots him in the chest.
I thought she got him in the face or the neck.
I might have been the neck.
It's hard to say. It was pretty quick, but he's Michael Myers. Fuck, he's been shot in the eyes and he's still got 20/20 vision.
Yeah.
No, because again, that was one thing I kind of liked. He wasn't supernatural.
No,
but he was.
Yeah,
like it was weird.
They walked the line well.
They kept the line of he's a human, but he is bashing people's fucking heads in.
He's
at
clearly
will. He's picking people up.
Shot before that too. Didn't he?
He blows his fingers off.
No, but he got shot.
He got shot in the arm with Laurie at early on.
Shot early on. Gets his fingers blown off, and he barely bats an eye.
And then in this one, because it was so quick, and I couldn't really tell whether it was neck or head or whatever, it was kind of like, okay, well I can cop it when he just turns.
It could have been that he copped his shoulder.
It
It
looked
could have
like
been
him on
anyway.
the side, so that's what I was thinking. Maybe it's just clipped him on the side or something.
So I kind of got that, but I think they tread the line all right there because we know he's supernatural and people expect him to get back up. And they did it well enough. He hadn't taken so much damage that he couldn't possibly have got back up. But he had shown this ability to kind of get back up from being shot.
Yeah.
And most people would be on the ground going, nah.
I'd
still be out the front looking at my fingers.
How he gets hit by that car? That's a couple of broken legs.
Yeah,
100%.
And a pretty serious concussion. His head butts the front of the car.
Maybe the sequel will be him with like concussion syndrome.
Yeah.
And he'll be walking
Maybe,
around and he'll have a drinking problem and be like really angry. And
maybe it'll be a random EMT again. Like, it was just happened to be around the scene and got his larynx crushed and was trying to tell everyone for the whole movie, I'm not Michael Myers, but he couldn't speak.
I don't think I had any other specific ones.
Anything else, Jared?
I only had one. It wasn't really a dislike for the movie, but it just made me laugh. I feel like the people of Haddonfield need to buy smaller knives.
Everyone's got a butcher's knife in the block.
I've never seen them cut anything more than a tomato, but you're doing it with a fucking machete.
In fairness, I've got 2 knives exactly like that at my house.
Yeah.
I know people have big knives, but the chick making a sandwich is cutting it with the biggest knife
no
I've
one.
ever seen. Then the girl that's babysitting starts cutting up her dinner. Again, the biggest knife I've ever seen. I feel like it's the Home Shopping Network needs to look at their numbers and go, we haven't sold a lot of slap choppers in this area of the country lately. Let's put a big drive on that. Trying to get knives out of the kitchens.
Yeah.
There's a slap chopper.
Haddonfield hasn't been picking up the small filleting knife package. They seem to be buying. They seem to be buying the more heavy duty.
I just remembered one other thing I was going to ask you guys about with the original, because in this there's one scene of nudity and it's a corpse.
Yep.
Is that consistent with Michael when he was 6 when he killed his sister?
Yeah, that is
actually
it.
topless?
That is it.
Yeah,
that is the same. That is the exact same scene.
Okay, because otherwise I had a problem with him going, well,
It's been cleaned up.
throw some boobs out.
The colouring's been cleaned up, so I could see that. I could see that she had no top on.
That's why I was wondering if that was necessary, but
It only took Adam 30 years to realise that she didn't have a top. So.
Jesus.
I thought she was wearing like a skin tight body. Because
The nipples didn't give it away.
Because you couldn't see him in the cut. It's so dark. The old version's so dark.
Quite difficult to see.
No, that's fair call then. I just thought, otherwise it would have been just an unnecessary. Let's get some boobs in.
Yeah. No, that is the
Okay.
exact same redone. It's not redone. It's actually taken.
What about the photos are? What about the live action thing when it shows like from Michael's point of view?
Yeah, that is from the original film.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They cleaned it up well.
Yeah, they cleaned it up real well.
That looked really good.
And in fact, it fits in real nice. Like it could have been sort of like, why take a scene from the original?
It looked like
kind
it
of
had a little
well.
bit of the soft focus, like this is a dream sequence thing, but it wasn't like clearly really pixelated and grainy.
As I said, I knew that she had no top on. Only taken me 40 years.
Mystery solved.
Mystery solved. Was she naked? Yes.
Clearly.
Sorry about who killed who. Just want to know this chick's top.
But anything else?
No, that's it for me.
No, that was it.
All right, that is Halloween, and that's our Halloween episode. If anyone wants to get in contact with us, send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com, and on Instagram at Thrill Me Podcast. Keep an eye on our Facebook page for details of our next episode. Maybe a death wish picture.
No.
Yeah, get
Five, the crackdown.
To knock over.
Straight up your ass.
Double bill. Double barrel death wish.
Double the Bronson.
No.
Twice the mustache.
No.
Can I interest you in another Bronson cannon? Okay.
That episode makes me laugh with you going, Jared goes, I watched Death Wish 1 and 2 and 3 recently, and you're like, you're a fucking masochist.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not. You're not. But keep an eye out. We'll let everyone know what our next episode is. But until next time, take it easy, and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers.
Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.